And hello again, my fountain pen, ink, and paper loving friends. Doug here again, Paper Doug, with another episode of Currently Inked. But in the course of the Currently Inked, I also wanted to show you all the notebooks I'm currently using for my inks to keep track of everything and, yeah, to just know what I have and to play with the inks when I get new ones. Let me start with this one. This is the one that has all the little dabbies and whatnot. And this was a gift from a dear pen pal of mine who made this for me with her inks, so I could see them and choose what I want, and just for funsies. And I added my bottled inks in the back. And yes, I showed this in the last video in detail where I talk about the ink swap with Lorelei. I did all the sampling of my new samples, the swatching, it's called, of the new samples in my book that is dedicated to ink samples, which you can see also in the last video. And so I won't go into this one. I also have this notebook, which is dedicated to my inks in bottles. And when I am using a bottled ink, I try to remember. I don't always remember, but I try to remember to put a little writing sample in this notebook next to the ink. I am not doing a good job of that because sometimes I forget. So here they're sorted by company. And then, last but not least, other than my Currently Inked notebook, I started this little notebook, which also was a friend gift, and I decided I'm going to use this for my ink mixes. It makes me so happy because here's what it is. I know there's Elise out there who also does a lot of ink mixing, and I love it too. So I have to contain myself sometimes because otherwise I would go a little bit crazy. So I decided all of my ink mixes are logged in this beautiful little book, and I put some drops on the page, I smudge it, I do a little bit of blowing and whatever else I feel like. But then important is that every ink gets a name. This one I named Matchmaker because it matches my Pelikan M620. You've probably seen it many times in my Currently Inked. And then this is one that I named Moonsong, and this one I named Green Queen. And here, for example, so if I'm good, then I keep track a little bit of what I put in there. So to both of these, I have added a little bit of distilled water to lighten the ink color, but I have noticed that it's almost as if that evaporates after time, or quite soon actually, and it's as dark as I started off initially. So yeah, but still experimenting with adding the distilled water. Yeah. And here is my Currently Inked notebook that you've seen many times, where I essentially do whatever I want. Yep. Don't know why this was smudging, because it doesn't always smudge. So there's sometimes more and sometimes less pens inked. And I started using this 2 years ago. Yep. And what I wanted to mention as we flip through just a little bit is that, that's weird, is that I did a while ago, like in December of 22, I got into all the browns and I wanted to do a comparison, and it was really fascinating how different browns can be. And like I said, I do what I want, so I did a bit of a smudginess here. And here are all the browns in comparison. Some are samples and some are bottled inks. Yep. Yeah, here are still the browns in January, and I really, oh, here you see Copperhead in action. I really loved Stormwater Runoff. That was a sample from Casey. And then they are dwindling down, my browns. Until they're almost gone. And occasionally in between, I do a page with my Twisby Ecos. Where would that be? I don't know. Oh, yes, right here. And then, oh, these are all the pens I got in Germany last year. And here I did a Pelikan study. I inked all of my Pelikan pens. Yep. Okay, now let's get on with it and do currently inked as of today. So here's the current selection of my inked pens. I love to have a variety of colors, and that's where this comes from. It would be definitely too much for some of you out there. For me, this is just what I love and what I enjoy. And I'm going to show you what's in these pens right now. And I will also, right after this, film the inking of some of my vintage, actually of 3 more of my vintage Kaweco Sports, because I want to. And because everybody's talking about the new Kaweco piston filler, and so I was excited. Yeah, and I thought, well, I have the vintage ones, so why not use them and see, yeah, just enjoy them. Okay, one I have already inked, and you will see that in a second. I may divide that up into 2 videos. I'm not sure yet. April 25, 2024. I don't know how you are, but I love making these lists. So when I haven't done it in a few days, or maybe if I just inked up one more pen, I redo my list. It's just calming to me to write with all the pens, to write the ink name and the pen name. And in this case, I should not close it because I will use it. This is the Opus 88 Coloro with a B nib. And the ink is Dominant Industry Earl Grey Tea. I have, yet again, a lot of samples from friends here. So I'm not even going to put that on the list. And like I said, I love using these eyedropper fillers because you can dump the whole vial of a sample in there. I said that in my other video earlier. And this is my beautiful new pen. I think it is called Opus 88 Picnic Blue. And another eyedropper filled pen. And when you use it for a bit, you want to open the back valve to create more ink flow or continuous ink flow. And this is one of the new samples that I got from Lorelei. It is, okay, let's think a moment. Luck by, gosh, I could keep scribbling with this because it's so pretty. It's such a beautiful ink. And I love this new to me pen, and I love using it. Esterbrook ST Gold Rush. Inked with Robert Oster Morning Mist. When I first start using it, this ink, when I haven't used it in a bit as in maybe a few days, the ink is darker and it shows, and the red sheen of this ink becomes visible, whereas later the ink becomes lighter when I've used it, when I've been writing with it for a bit. The ink becomes lighter and the red sheen is gone. And this is a writer's medium nib. I don't write that here because I have two Estes and both of them have that nib. Beautiful ink color, matches the pen very well. And now I will open the blinds because it's getting really cloudy out there. Okay, here is okay, I had to change that again a little bit. Here's my Monteverde Sequoia, or Grace, if you don't know her channel, but Grace, she was talking about her love for Monteverde pens, and so we had chatted a little bit about that because she was just swatching the Monteverde Sequoia ink, which is, of course, exactly in this color. I bought this pen at a local store 2 years ago, and I was super frustrated because I had to prime the feed a lot. I mean, why would I even have to prime the feed? It's supposed to flow on its own. So that was frustrating. And recently I'm like, dang, I'm going to use that again and I'm going to figure out what the problem is. And then it was dripping ink. I could not use it. And what happened was I brought it to the store. I told them the story and they kept it there. And in the end, they actually replaced converter as well as nib, both, because replacing only one did not fix the problem. How interesting is that, right? And since then, I have not had any trouble with this pen. Here is a sample from Casey. Come on, you pen, you. Don't be causing trouble after all, after I've given you praise. This has a B nib. Monteverde Giant Sequoia. Grace said it's called Giant Sequoia. And it has a B nib. I'm telling you, when I wrote with this a few days ago, no problem at all. And now all of a sudden it's being weird. What's going on with the nib here? Can you see that? It's not aligned properly. Okay. Monteverde Giant Sequoia. And this sample, this is a sample of Pannonia and Ink Dependence, a collab. Ink Dependence. Oh, seriously, Ink Dependence. That's what's wrong. And it's called Cheerio Water Buzz. Is that an A or an E? How do you spell Ink Dependence? I think it has to be an A. And the ink is called Don't Get on My Nerves pen. Cheerio Water Bus. This is a bit frustrating now because I told you that it's been writing nicely and now it's giving me trouble. This ink is beautiful and it's a wonderful match for the pen. This baby is my favorite. Talked about this Lamy 2000 many times with a double broad oblique nib. Gold. And I have inked it currently with Dominant Industry Snowfield. Definitely one of my top pens of all of my pen collection, my whole pen collection. Dominant Industry Snowfield. If you are a fat writer who loves their broad nibs, you might definitely want to consider it because I love this pen. I tried it in writing at the Lamy flagship store in San Francisco and fell in love so hard that I had to get it right then and there, which was great because it was around my birthday. So had it for a while, so no birthday near and far. Next is my Platinum 3776 Chartres, this blue baby, and I love this one also. And because of the time of the year, I had to ink this with Robert Platinum 3776, and because of the time of the year, I had to ink it with a sample of Robert Oster Cherry Blossom that I got from my friend Des. Sorry, I hope you didn't hear my stomach growling. Oh my goodness, it's almost dinner time. This music nib is glorious. A gold nib, $5.85. Bought the pen also on yet another trip, and I have nothing but good memories because I have that pen. That was New Orleans Papier Plume. Robert Oster Cherry Blossom. Oh, do you want to see the nib one more time? You've probably seen this before. I just love this pen. Definitely another favorite. And this baby I bought at an antique market in Germany. Got a real good price for it. It's a Montblanc vintage with what also should be probably classified as a double broad oblique nib. Hope you can see this okay. Oh, love this. And what I do here, it is a piston filler, but I unscrew it. I unscrew the body here. It unscrews in the center, and then I dump ink in here from the front. And the advantage is that this is a good pen where if I want to use up every last bit of ink. from a sample. So that's how I choose my pens usually. If I use a bottle, I use a piston filler. I use piston fillers with bottles when I cannot take the front off, either that I can take the nib unit out, or like in this case, it unscrews here. And I'm so glad that I finally found the perfect pen for this glorious ink, because I had tried it in other pens before and I never liked it. It's funny, and here in this one, it can truly shine. This is a Montblanc Meisterstück 12. And the ink is Ferris Wheel Press Royal Rhubarb. Pretty pen. Yep. Oh my gosh, my stomach is growling. Okay, next is, I hope I didn't call this in the last episode already a Parker 51, because it's not. It's a Parker 45. And I think these all metal ones are called Flighters. And I've had this for a very long time. Probably got it in Germany from the flea market at some point, and it has a broad oblique nib. I love oblique nibs, I really do. This is another Ferris Wheel Press ink, another sample from my friend, the same one here from my friend Alexandra. Man, I have so many favorite pens. I really gotta tell you, one day I will have to do an episode where I talk about all of my favorite pens, but to narrow it down will be so hard. I cannot even imagine. This is Yosemite Falls. Beautiful, beautiful light blue color. Love it. You have the nib, front part, grip section, and moving on to yet another favorite. Do I have all my favorites inked right now? You've seen this many times. It was a gift from my brother, and I really love it. And it's another ink from my friend Alexandra, another sample, and it's yet another Ferris Wheel Press, the Fluttering Heart. And the pen is called Kaweco Supra Brass. It's a double broad nib. First we'll press the Fluttering Heart. You could screw the cap onto the back, but I never do any kind of anything. I never put the cap on the back, anything, not even on the sports, as you will see in a moment. But it's probably for some of you out there nice to have the option. Now we're moving on to a vintage Kaweco Dia. I've talked about this one before. He worries me a little bit because sometimes he doesn't have suction, and so I decided I'm going to have to keep him permanently inked. And The nib is also a little bit finicky. Ay. So, but I love it dearly, and it's probably one of the pens that I got from my dad. So right now, this pen is rotating through all of my papier plume inks. This one being the darkest, from caramel over Sazerac to red beans and rice. It's a broad oblique, and it's papier plume. Love this ink. Well, red beans, not red and rice. It's red beans and rice. And I do have a bottle of this. All right. And here comes one of my Kaweco Sports. This guy did not come in a set. All my others came in a set, as you will see either later or next time. And this one has this one has a fine oblique nib. And I thought, well, if I should ever sell one, then it's this one. But alas, I love this pen. I love all of these, and even the fine writing, this fine writing nib. It's crazy, because normally, you know me, I love me some Gusher pens, but this one, sorry, it won't leave the house. I'm just an ink and pen hoarder. That's the way it is. Confessions of an Uneducated Pen and Ink Hoarder. I should have put here. What did I write? I wrote Kaweco Super. What did I do? Oh my gosh. No. Let's put on this. Vintage Kaweco Dia. What's going on? I cannot write anymore. And you've got the nib size here. Okay. Now, vintage. Yeah, and as you can see, this fits fine in my hand. I don't need it. I don't need the cap on the end. Yeah. Gold nib. Lovely, lovely writer. Vintage Kaweco Sport. Fine oblique. And this ink is almost green. Yeah, that was one of the early colored inks that I bought. You know, I mean colored, not blue or black. When the company started coming out with colors, I bought this one, and I bought Omas Brown, which looks more like a burgundy color. Here we have, and yes, now we're getting to all of my Pelikans, and I say all of my Pelikans that are inked. That's what I mean, because I am a Pelikan pen lover. Love their pens, and I have over 30, and I have 2 more coming because my brother is coming into town for a visit. I'm so excited. That's why I'm filming a few videos for you ahead of time, because I'm going to take a filming break, and he's bringing 2 more pens that I had, or he had purchased for me in Germany. This is a Pelikan Pura. I would say this is not my favorite because of the very slick grip section. However, because of the way it writes, I still use it and I still love it. And yeah, because it's like, as all Pelikans, it's a gusher. And the ink is Rora Klingner Gracia. Another kind and generous sample from my friend Des. And here you see the broad nib. I once saw that these also came out in a green, and boy, I would love this one in green. But there's so many beautiful pens out there, and I have a pre-order on the M200 in orange, where I'm waiting for the broad nib and another Pelikan. No, a Delta Dune, where I'm also waiting on the nib. Look at this guy. Yeah, one of my favorite pens. I think I have right now, I have a lot of my favorites inked. This one is called Pelikan M620 Grand Place, after a location in Brussels. Grand Place. And it's a B-nib, and I purchased this from my friend Joel, whom I've mentioned many times, Doug Joel Dagmix. And I named this ink color the Matchmaker because it was supposed to match this pen. The next combination is going to surprise you because I've said multiple times how much I'm into the light inks, and this is the opposite of a light ink. But I am so glad I finally found the perfect pen to let this ink shine. I got it as a sample from Casey yet again, and I've tried it in several pens, and it never really was like meh. It was always like meh, meh, meh. And now, in this M400 blue with the double broad nib, oh my gosh, I love it. Pelikan, and wait for it. Wait until you see it here where the ink dries. Pelikan blue M400 and a double broad nib. Got that nib from Joel also. And it is, in case you wonder, it is Papier Plume Bayou Nightfall. And it's funny because I just love the name of this ink. And I wanted to love it so much, and I never did in those other pens. But now, Bayou Nightfall, Papier Plume, I adore you. Yes, I do. Here you can see the nib. Glorious, glorious. Yeah. And now we are getting to another favorite. Yeah, how many favorites can you have? How do you count? How do you even count? this is my beloved Pelikan M400 white tortoise green. With a broad oblique nib. And the ink is glorious. My favorite of Inkvent 2023. Number 13, Weeping Willow. Come on, focus. And here is a Pelikan 400 vintage, which is one of my favorite vintage writers. It is, that nib is another glorious one. Glorious, favorite word. And yes, I do put a shimmer ink even in a vintage pen because I can screw out the nib section and thoroughly clean the inside of this pen. And even if there's still some shimmer left in the feed, it's okay. I can live with that going out with the next ink over time. And this is a like I said, a broad oblique, and the ink is diamine dusted truffle. Diamine. I was lucky because my dear pen pal Alexandra, she bought a large bottle of this, and so I got her 12 ml bottle because she loved it so much. But I also really love it every time I use this. It's beautiful. I just love the way these vintage nibs perform. This is a 14K nib. Yeah. Wow, so nice. Thinking we're going to get some rain today. It's getting darker and darker. And here is my Pelikan M200 Golden Barrel. And this time around, I'm using a sampler from my dear pen pal Sherry. Great in this pen, and watch the ink dry if you're not familiar with this ink. Pelikan M200 with a broad nib. I wish these came in a double broad, but I don't think they do at all. So this is Platinum Citrus Black. So fun. Thank you, Sherry. Okay. And now I always call these, not to you, but I call these for myself my semi-vintage pens, because I would think that these were made, I'm guessing, in the 80s. Of course, in Germany, because both of them are Faber-Castell, maybe from the 70s also. could be 70s, 80s, right around that time. Very, very reliable writers. Always. Long-time love of mine. Here's the black one that has a broad oblique nib and semi-hooded. And the model is called Castell 10. Castell 10. This has a broad oblique nib, and the filling system is their proprietary piston. No, what's it called? Oh my gosh, words are escaping me. But this is screwed in. But even though both pens look identical, I cannot swap these converters. That's the word. Yeah, but nice ink capacity. And this beautiful ink was a sample from Debbie, and it's Private Reserve. Arabian Rose. Beautiful. Thank you, Deb. Yep. All right. And last but not least, comes the other one, which has a broad nib and superficially similar color, but very different ink. I mean, the ink color is superficial. Yeah, right. You get it, what I'm saying. I haven't seen a lot of currently inked videos. What's up with you people? You don't always. You can do them on the 1st or on the 15th, on the 20th. Doesn't matter. Please come out with more. I love watching currently inked. This is Fritz Schimpf Morgenröte, which translates into dusk. A high sheening ink that has flow, surprisingly. Here you see again. There you go. And this is it for today. You want a bit of a close-up? My phone is complaining. My phone tells me I'm low on battery, so I gotta hurry to get this done. Here you go. This is what I have currently inked, and I switch these around as I feel like. Thank you guys for watching. See you soon with the Kaweco Sport, Vintage Kaweco Sport Special Edition.